Chris, what's going on, man?
You know, man, just coming off yesterday's event, obviously. We got finished cleaning up around like 11:30, head home and just finished doing some wrestling rounds with the guys.
Yeah, so you're the owner of SOGI. What does SOGI stand for?
Submission Only Grappling Invitational.
Submission Only Grappling Invitational. You're a co-owner of the 10th Planet Long Island.
Yes, sir.
And you're also the dad of Pat Shahgholi, who is one of the top athletes in the game right now. Got a lot of buzz going around him. Just won last night again the heavyweight title.
Yeah.
Man, so you got a lot going on, dude.
A lot going on, yeah. So Pat's coming from pound for pound ranked finishers, #1 guy, heavyweight champion at finishers. So now he's the double champ, 2 heavyweight titles. So he's got a lot coming up. He's going to make some announcements for some events in Texas. With some new wave guys. So
Hell yeah.
I'll let him announce that, but that's just a little preview for you guys.
Sweet, I'm excited to see that. I want to see how he measures up to what new wave's got.
For sure.
And man, so you're a busy guy. So like most gyms don't really do much on Sundays. They're like only have an open mat. And then I tried to schedule a pod with you and you got like 2 or 3 classes today. So you're just hustling, man.
Yeah, man. So we used to have just open mat on Sunday, which was great, you know. One of our biggest open mats. Not only do the AM and PM guys get to mix it up, but also we get a lot of visitors on Sundays from other schools. So that was a perfect day to add our women's program. So we would do that before open mat, women's only class, just so they get comfortable, you know, with people their own size who are maybe newer, and then right into open mat. So if they want to stay around for open mat after class, they could stay. If not, they just want to do women's, they can head home. That got pretty popular, and then we started adding wrestling. So a lot of people maybe can only train on the weekend, so they'll actually like hit that triple: wrestling, women's, open mat. And then obviously we have a bunch of recovery that people come do on Sundays. We got the plunge, sauna, corrective exercise, strength and conditioning. So I look at Sunday as like the first day of the week. This gets like my momentum going. Tonight I'll sit down, look how like Monday through Saturday look. But the vibes on Sunday are awesome.
Hell yeah. And I was here a long time ago. I got invited to one of the first SOGIs, and I got hurt, so I couldn't compete, but I still coached my buddy.
Yeah.
And you were in the city somewhere, and it was like a tiny little gym.
Okay, you're talking about the dojo in Queens?
Is that where it was?
Yeah. Was it the, who were you cornering?
His name was Josh Baker. He was like a blue belt.
Josh Baker, okay. Yeah, so our first event was in Ridgewood in Queens, the dojo NYC.
Okay.
Gabriel Marte, he's like a pretty active competitor and coach over there. So we hosted that. So Submission Only Grappling Invitational was originally submission only. Sub only every match. So we had a long day that day. The first match was 58 minutes.
Dang.
Yeah. So that's why we kind of adopted the EBI rules moving forward. But yeah, that was SOGI 1.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice. So what's it like owning a competition? I mean, I've literally watched you grow from just being like
Yeah.
a very small promotion in New York to now, dude, you got athletes coming from all over the country.
Yeah. So I started doing this just for the networking and like being able to have like a reason to go to other gyms and be like, hey, I run SOGI, you mind if I hop in and train? It was never really like making money for the past like 4 or 5 years. Then Flow started reaching out, so they wanted to stream. That opened a lot of doors for like sponsors and stuff like that. But my goal of SOGI is just to help the grapplers grow. I don't really look at it as a main source of income, right? So I know what it's like competing. I competed for like in no-gi for like 9, almost 10 years, from 6 months in as a white belt all the way through to black belt. So I understand like the hustle and the grind. So when I meet these guys that are blue belts flying in from like Texas, I'm like, that's amazing. Like, I'm so grateful for them. I want to try to promote their name as much as possible. That's why we added the post-match interviews. I am myself and my girlfriend Nikki, we run Instagram, just the 2 of us. So we answer every message. We post every post that's on there. We don't have anyone else posting for us. So we decide like, hey, this person is hitting us up for a super fight. You know, they got their friends on the match. They flew in their parents to watch the match. Let's like promote them. Maybe they're not like a world champion black belt, but they're a blue belt who's hustling. Let's do a little feature on them. And, you know, that just makes it really easy, you know? It's really gratifying to do that.
Dude, absolutely. And when the place is packed, you got to quit selling tickets at a certain point.
Yeah, that's our second sellout. 2 events, 2 sold out events.
Dude, congratulations.
Thank
That's
you.
badass. Hell
If you remember the first one, everyone was just sitting on the mat, and we were streaming through an iPad that was connected to the Wi-Fi streaming onto Facebook.
Oh, dang.
Pat had to hold the iPad for about 8 hours that day.
Dang.
So the next day he was sitting like this the whole day for the event, and he was like the next day his back and his neck were just wrecked. So now he's the main event.
Yeah. And commentating, which is cool.
Oh my God. I gotta listen it back. So I didn't get to watch the event yet on Flow, but I'm excited to hear the commentary.
Yeah. So I don't think it was the first one I was at, because there were time limited rounds, but it was like we were in the city and people were like standing outside looking through the windows and stuff.
Oh, so are you talking? Was it the same white mats?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's Smithtown.
Smithtown.
Yeah,
Okay. Is that another location?
That's where we moved during COVID. So
Gotcha.
during COVID, we had to move over here.
Yes.
Yeah, that was Main Street on Smithtown. The outside had all the windows that you could.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the one I was at. And my buddy was like, when we were trying to figure out where this place is at, he's like, "Didn't you already go? Don't you know what it looks like?" I'm like, "This ain't the same place, man. I don't know what's going on."
That was the event Keith was on.
Yes.
He won the 155 strap.
Oh,
yeah.
Nice.
It was a weird bracket too. I think we did a 16-man bracket, a 4-man wild card for the 16th spot. So it was technically a 20-man lightweight tournament.
Dang.
Yeah, it was sick.
Hell yeah.
But talk about your match. Your game, you were like looking for deep half.
Mm-hmm.
I love that game, especially with big guys. So
yeah,
talk about that. Like, that's the best game for big guys in my opinion.
Yeah. I definitely enjoy it. It was a good match, man. I was super.
Tough.
Yeah. I mean, I was like kind of worried in my head when I got the matchup, because I wasn't originally planning to come here.
Yeah.
My buddy Randy, who took the match, he was like saying he needed a coach, and our sponsor was like, "I'll pay for you to go if you go be his coach." And I was like, "Well, I'm not gonna say no." And I was like, "All right, well, let me see if I can get a match." And then you guys sent me the matchup, and this dude's like jacked out of his mind. I was like, "Oh man, I'm going to New York, and now I get matched up with this."
It was a great match though.
Yeah. You know, he tried to smush me, and I tried my best to not be smushable, and I was able to get that good leg lock entry. Unfortunately, we had to like reset, and I guess he just like kicked out. I have to rewatch it and see what happened exactly.
Yeah.
But looking back on it now, I guess I probably shouldn't have went for the arm. I was hoping that, because a lot of times big guys are hard to hold in the back take. Like they're so heavy on the leg a lot of times that they just spin right out. So I was like, man, maybe I'm really good at arm bars. I should see if I can hold him in the arm bar. But he literally just got right up and shook me off. But if you know, it was really close, because even when he had my back, I almost got out. So.
Yeah, I had the same idea. I fought Nemeth on Emerald City. He got my back first, and then I thought the same thing. I said, let me take the arm, because he's going to just swivel out of the back. And he did the same thing to me, stacked and right out.
Yeah.
But I like arm bar in OT, to be honest.
Yeah, me too. Well, yeah, so I appreciate the matchup, man. It was a good match, you know. I was like, man, I hope they're not feeding me some killer and I'm just going to come up here and get spanked. But,
no, man.
It was a good match.
Not.
So I appreciate you. So tell me a little bit more about like owning a gym, man. You're a longtime gym owner, so you've been hustling. You grinded it out through COVID.
Yeah, man. So I actually partnered in about 2 years ago. I started here as a student. So back when I was a purple belt, I did EBI, the first combat EBI. And I was training like near 10th Planet, but not at 10th Planet. So I was looking out for like places to cross train. I said, I have EBI coming out. Can anyone recommend a good place to get like some cross training days in? And 10th Planet was the only place to hit me up and say, hey, this is our open mat. Come down and cross train whenever you want. So that was great. I had 2 places I was training. I go to EBI. I meet all the 10P guys, and I'm like, damn, these guys are like super like tight knit, right? The camaraderie is awesome. I'm already training at one of the 10th Planets. So like, I came back from EBI, emailing Eddie like, how do you open one of these? Like, what's the process? At the time, you only had to be a purple belt and train at 10th Planet. So I was like, sick. I'm a purple belt. I'm already training with these guys. Like, I'm gonna open an affiliate school. That was my goal, right? COVID happens. I'm home all day. I'm doing like 3 training sessions at home, privates, rolling in my house with mats. And that turned into like over a year of like basically 20 to 30 people in one bedroom just rolling.
Dang.
Then everything opens back up and I'm like, okay, back to reality. Like, now what happens? So I thought, okay, I'll go back to work and play it safe and I'll try to keep this going at home. Like, I have the mats, people are coming here, like, this is sick. And maybe I'll transition out into like a, private lesson guy. And closer it got to the date to going back to work, I'm like, I'm just gonna go for it. Like, I'll figure it out. I'll do privates in the morning, I'll DoorDash, and then I'll do privates at night. And I'll figure it out. I'll grow my private list. I'll just make jiu-jitsu my job. I have a letter at home from my job that said like, hey, you didn't show up to work like for a week. is everything okay? And I signed the paper. I said, I'm going to make jiu-jitsu my job, and I framed it. I put it in my room. So I can always look back at that and remember the date in June. So an opportunity opened up here that one of the partners were leaving, and I was interested. So I took my whole 401k and dumped it into getting partnership here. And that was 2 years ago. And now we're just hustling, growing,
Hell yeah,
blowing
dude.
up.
That's awesome. You're definitely blowing up, man.
Yeah.
You had like so many stars in here. Everyone's coming to be on
I
your show.
couldn't believe it, bro. The original main card was Pat and Nemeth. Then I get Keith and Solano, and I'm like, damn, that's a main event too. So I can't change the main event. I got to make them co. So I have a freaking like 80cc vet as the co-main. I'm like, oh my God. Then I get Max Hansen and Diogo. I'm like, okay, another co-main. So we're doing 2 co-mains and a bracket. I get Nick Damgioni, I get Enrique Galarza. I'm like, these are, JT black belt, Silver Fox black belt. Then Luis Cabrera, who, just for Luis, that was my dark horse in the event. He doesn't get acknowledged enough for his leg locks and passing and the way he combines them. His match with Felipe was beautiful. If you guys are leg lockers that only sit back on legs, go watch that match and see how he mixes it in with the passing. That was just beautiful.
Dang, I'm going to go back and check it out.
Yeah, for sure. Felipe, that's a pure IBJJF guy, super decorated, and he did awesome in EBI rules, right? Every match was great. Finally got Chris Wojcik. I've been trying to get him forever. Not that he didn't want to do it, it's just the dates didn't line up, and now I finally got him. Every match was awesome. It was great.
Yeah, man.
Dylan opened the card great with a sick Aoki. Couldn't get better.
Right, dude. You're killing it. So, tell me what you think about the current state of jiu-jitsu. I mean, there's like a lot of steroids going around.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you perceive the situation?
So, I always think of things that people have said in the past, like obviously at the start of jiu-jitsu, the goal was technique, right? It's good for the smaller guy. I'm sure Elio didn't care how big guys were when he was rolling with them.
Right.
Obviously, he was in gi, so that is like one factor. But even Gary Tonin in the past has said like about his nutrition. He's like, if the fact that you eat a cheeseburger or not determines your jiu-jitsu, you don't have good jiu-jitsu.
Mm-hmm.
If you have good jiu-jitsu and better than the other guy, you should be able to manage. If he's taking steroids or he's taking, someone could take a double shot of espresso. He's enhanced. He took caffeine. Jiu-jitsu is supposed to be like jiu-jitsu always wins. Now, like in terms of like the greasing and stuff, I mean, some people are naturally sweaty. You have to make the adjustments, right? So if I have a sub-only no time limit match and we're both in shorts and a rash guard and we're so sweaty that I can't get a leg isolation, I have to change it up and go for a strangle, right? So there shouldn't be an obstacle that isn't jiu-jitsu that will stop your jiu-jitsu, right? So if it's steroids, there should be a way to circumnavigate that. Marcelo against Rico Rodriguez. Maybe he wasn't on steroids, but look at the size difference.
Right.
He managed, right? If someone's greasing or they shave their legs, you have to circumnavigate that. Use your jiu-jitsu to overcome that. That's just how I feel.
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense, dude. And then so, what's your like future vision for SOGI? So like, where are you trying to take this thing? You have any 5-year goals or? I mean, with the rate that you're going now, it could be like a 1-year goal at this point.
My goal is just to get like the exposure for the athletes, right? So as big as SOGI can grow, right? I'm always going to keep it intimate that I always deal with the athletes. I don't really have any aspirations to have like a team working for me that deals with the athletes. Like SOGI, in the very beginning, if you look back at my SOGI, I never even mentioned my own name. It was kind of like SOGI's doing this, SOGI's doing that. I just want SOGI to almost be like its own autonomous thing. It's for grapplers, by the grapplers, right?
Hell yeah.
So I don't want to be like this huge like organizer that isn't really like involved in the process. I want to speak to every athlete, set up every match, meet them at weigh-ins, even reffing, right? I want to be there. I want to have the best seat in the house to watch the main card. I don't want any issues with time or OT or out of bounds. Like I want to be in there with the guys running the event. So that's my goal, that it's self-sustainable. It's a platform that the grapplers can use. Like, I'm not greedy. If SOGI gets someone onto, like, who's number one, that's awesome. Like, I want to help propel them to there. I don't want to have, like, exclusive guys that will only do SOGI. I want to use SOGI to get you on bigger cards if there are bigger cards for you. Get paid.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Well, dude, that might seem like not a big thing, but to me that is a big thing. I've competed for a bunch of different competitions, and I've had to tell my coach, like, I'm not competing for these people anymore. I've had people be like, or organizations be like, oh yeah, we need you here to weigh in the middle of the day on a Friday, and you need to be there.
Right.
And then also you need to be here for this, and then also you need to sell this many tickets, and then you only get the win percentage if you get it's like all these things, and it's like, dude, like, I have a job, I got my own life going on, like, who is gonna make it at a weigh-in in the middle of the day on a Friday? And then you're gonna harass us about, like, oh, you didn't sell 10 tickets, you only sold 6, like, you're not gonna get any money. And it's like, dude, so hold on, you want me to come compete for you, and I have to sell 10 tickets, which is $500 worth,
right?
And then I have to get a submission to possibly earn 5 or 10% of that. And it's like, and you're gonna sit here and make me feel bad because I didn't accomplish what goals you had for your promotion.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, that's like the definition of taking advantage of athletes. While this dude's a millionaire, and then also, like, mostly the only, like, interaction I had from him was, like, him bitching us out about stuff, and then, but we never see him.
Right.
So it's
like,
just
who
like,
is that?
Yeah, who is this guy?
I think of it like this. I'm the promoter, right? So I promote the event. It's like I have to sell tickets, right? I'm using essentially your art to encourage people to buy a ticket. So all I want you to do as the athlete is show up and show your art, which people want to see, right? So, like, we ask that each athlete sell 2 tickets, and everyone messages me and says, like, oh, do I put my name somewhere where I sold the tickets, or, like, what happens if I don't sell the tickets? I said, it's no problem. You try your best. If you ask your parents to buy a ticket and they buy a ticket, fine. If you come from Canada to Long Island and you couldn't sell 2 tickets, that's no problem. I don't expect you to drag 2 people here from Canada. The people who vibe with SOGI are gonna try to sell tickets. No one's gonna try to screw me over. I know who I deal with. Like, so if they tried and they couldn't sell 2 tickets, no big deal. We sold out 2 events. It's no problem, right? So super fights, like undercard, I look at, we're kind of like making hopefully a mutual exchange. I'm giving you some exposure on flow, and you're giving me, like, your art, right? So mostly for like prelims, undercard, they don't get like a salary, but we kind of have a mutual exchange. I can introduce you to some sponsors. I can get you like some views on Instagram. I might not be able to give you show money, but I can give you some kind of value. If you do a bracket, this was the first goal of SOGI, just be able to do an invite-only bracket. So not have to collect $100 each and then winner take all. To be able to say, 8 guys, you come, and we're gonna give you prize money from a sponsor. So we have that one in the hole. We can invite 8 guys, no buy-in, winner gets 1,000. Okay, so that's for brackets. So anyone interested, if you want to do a bracket for SOGI, if you get an invite, there's no buy-in. If you're a main card athlete, you get show money and you get win money. So regardless, if you win, you leave with something. And those are all negotiable based on your credentials and your value, right? For, let's say we're going to have a number 1 contender bracket. I look at that as, I'm going to invite you to the number 1 contender bracket, and if you win an opportunity for show money, right? So there's always some kind of a value there. But in terms of you having to sell 10 tickets, and like in some events they'll say, well, if you don't sell 10 tickets, you're covering the cost of it. Like, no.
That's crazy, right?
My job is to sell the tickets. Your job is to do something that people want to see, and that's why they bought a ticket. I'm the promoter, you're the athlete.
Right, dude. You're preaching the truth, dude.
Yeah.
Because one, I think it's cool that you're doing brackets without making the athletes pay. Like, that's huge, dude. Because it's like, dude, not everyone has $100, let alone like all the money that we're spending to get here. Like, it costs us money to get here. It costs us money to Uber everywhere. It costs us money for food.
Yeah.
And so it means a lot when someone's like, here's a chance to win, and it's not anything on you except to come here and perform. So that's big, dude. So I recommend any athletes that if they're doing this, man, they got to come here, because
thank you.
Not a whole lot of places are doing that.
I know that's what I would want, you know?
Hell yeah. And so, do you have any advice for maybe a competitor coming through the ranks, because you've done it yourself? Now you're a promoter. That's like, you know, one of the things that most people want to do is like they become a competitor and then they want to do it for others. So if you have what kind of advice do you have for a competitor trying to work himself through the ranks right now?
Yeah, so we have a big percentage of our athletes here that want to compete, and the first thing is always going to be mindset. So I tell them, listen, if you want to compete, you have to kind of like make a deal with me. It's not about wins or losses. So if you lose and you come back on Monday, or you don't come train and you're mad and your mindset's off, like, you can't compete. I want you to look at it long term. Every competition you do is like a data collection. I'm going into this competition. I ask someone, what's your goal? Oh, I want to win. No good. What's your goal? I want to pass the guard. Okay, awesome. So let's go do a good fight, and let's do, your division. You get 4 matches. All I want you to try to do is pass the guard as many times as possible. If you get to mount and you get swept, no big deal. You pass the guard, you got to mount, you get swept, and then let's say he passes your guard and subs you, no problem. What was the goal? The goal was to pass the guard. So let's study all those guard passes. Then after all those matches, come back on Monday and say, how can we refine these guard passes? Take 6 weeks, next tournament. Now, okay, I want you to do that same knee cut and make sure that you keep the underhook, and then that'll be the next goal. Now do that for the next 5 matches. Then once you get comfortable passing, we can make the goals more broad. Okay, like I want you to get north-south choke. Now I know how I can coach you to get to that position because you have the guard passing down. So a lot of athletes get worried about like, oh, I lost. Between white and brown, nobody cares. This is your time to like build up your game. For like people interested in super fights, use super fights as kind of like the cherry on top. So if you have a super fight, use Good Fight, Naga, any local tournament to get volume. Grappling Industries. Go get like 6-7 matches so you can have a lot of data collection, a lot of feedback. Super fights are awesome, but if you do one super fight and you get a 10-second heel hook, you don't bring a lot back to the gym to work on. So a lot of people get stuck in doing like these monthly super fights. One match. Over a month, over a year, that's 12 matches. Opposed to the guy who does 3-4 good fights a year, he could get 20 matches. So it's still mat time, but the volume, you have to be careful with super fights. You want to keep your volume up on mat time.
Right.
Yeah, that's how I look at it. More volume. Super fights are the cherry on top. Okay, I just did like 3 weekends of good fights. I have 15 matches in, and I got to the back every time. I want to take this super fight. I know I'm getting to the back.
Hell yeah. And that makes a lot of sense. I try to tell my guys the same thing. It's not about winning or losing. It's trying to have your best performance. But you even narrowed it down smaller than that to a specific skill set. Like, let's make sure your guard passing's there, or your leg locks, or your back takes. I like that. I'm gonna steal that.
Yeah, so I'll reference one of my matches, Nick Deutsch. It was the last match of the prelim. He hit like a bunch of sick takedowns, shin to shin entries, single leg X sweeps. He matched up wrestle ups with front headlock and guillotine attacks, and he lost in OT. He had a great match. He executed things that he's been working on. It doesn't matter that someone held his back longer. So he has a lot of takeaways from that match. As a coach, I can always give good feedback if the goals were more narrowed down, right? So if we just go in there and say, I want you to win, and he loses, I don't have a lot of feedback for him.
Yeah.
If we go in there trying to pass the guard, and he, for 6 minutes, tried to pass the guard but didn't, I have a ton of feedback we could work on. Hey man, your hand just needed to be a little bit inside the elbow. So I'd rather give a lot of good feedback than have that broad, like, okay, well, better luck next time.
Right.
You know?
It's making a lot of sense, man. So now that we did the SOGI part, I kind of want to ask you about, like, do you have any advice for possible athletes who want to open their own gym, or just jiu-jitsu enthusiasts who are looking to be in the gym owner spot? Because you're here, obviously it's not bread and butter. You're here on Sunday busting your ass. You're here late at night busting your ass. I would have tried to get a podcast with you before Saturday, but in my head I was like, man, this dude's probably busy all day.
Oh my God, it was crazy.
So yeah, what would your advice be?
So guys, it's all about like marketing yourself like you're a brand, right? So who is Chris Shahgholi? Who is Pop, right? Like for many years I was my brand was I'm the guy who works a regular job and then competes a lot, right? And then I became a school owner. So now my brand changed. Like I'm not that guy who works 40 hours a week and just like travels around every weekend competing. Now I'm doing jiu-jitsu, so that's my brand is changing. So now I want to be like the best coach I could be for 10th Planet Long Island. That's my mantra. That's my goal for the past 2 years. I don't want to be the best coach in the world. Again, like I want to cater to everybody who wants to do jiu-jitsu. So if I have somebody who works like building roofs all week and can only train once a week and maybe like get it private and he wants to compete, I want to like build him up from 0 to 100 and be like the best competitor he can be. I don't only want to deal with the elite athletes, right? I want to build everyone up and change their life with jiu-jitsu. Like that's who Chris is now. I'm not that guy just working and competing. Now I want to build like other people up. So the first thing about your brand is it has to be true. If you try to be somebody fake, it's going to come off on Instagram, it's going to come off in person. The way I talk to you on Instagram, SOGI, and when you meet me in person is the same person. The worst thing you can do is be somebody online and someone different in person. And I notice that a lot meeting athletes. They're a different person on Instagram, and I meet them in person, they're a totally different personality because they try to like ham it up. Just be real and be true and tell people who you are and what you're passionate about. And you have to find ways to monetize that. Like there's different things. There's gym ownership, there's private lessons, there's group lessons, there's kids, right? There's mindset. If you might not be the best competitor, but you have a great mindset, maybe you can monetize that for people and like help them visualize and get ready for their matches. So it's about building a brand. Like what market can you tap into? For me, I'm the most passionate about private lessons. I really like working with people one-on-one and like being involved in their progress. Day one, or like a guy who's like a purple belt, high level that wants to clean up his leg locks. I like both. If you're like a jiu-jitsu nerd, I'll sit here with you and like talk jiu-jitsu, break stuff down and like work together. You have to find if you don't like teaching, that might not be the avenue for you. Maybe you're the competitor. So if you're the competitor who's trying to monetize that, okay, you have to show your content working live. So I don't show anything in a reel or a private lesson that I haven't hit in a competition, or like almost hit. So like if I get to like a single leg X but I didn't get the sweep, at least I can reference that to a student. So that's how you're gonna monetize that, is by your brand. You're the competitor. Like you get out there and you execute these techniques that you know. That is gonna be probably the hardest avenue, because you need a brand that aligns with you, that wants to sponsor you, essentially pay for your flights, right, do stuff like that. So then you have to think about how you can market yourself to those brands. So if you talk to a rash guard company, why are you gonna encourage people to buy their rash guard? Okay, so I'll give you an example, like Rubber Bones. That's Maria, she's from 10th Planet. Why does that brand align with Pat? Because he lets people crank on his feet. He literally has rubber bones. So it's a perfect combination. He could market that brand to people. So it's just about and multiple income streams, 100%.
Right.
So guys, it's like 2023, everything's expensive. You have to have multiple income streams. So I have my gym salary, my private lessons, and my Patreon now. So, and then obviously SOGI. So right now I'm trying to push my Patreon. I want to grow, essentially my vision is to have a digital class. So I have my students at the gym, but I want to have, right now we're up to like almost 10 patrons from all over the country. I want to have like a group in my Discord and my Patreon that are maybe people from India, England, all together, that we could hop on a call and be like, hey guys, this week we went over single leg X, like anyone have questions? And just have like a digital academy almost. So there's got to be multiple income streams, but it all should revolve around what you're passionate about. I was doing morning class and night class with DoorDash in the middle. I'm not passionate about DoorDash, so I didn't enjoy doing that. But I'm passionate about jiu-jitsu, so it's easy to do Patreon or add a wrestling class, private lesson, guest instruct at academies. I try to guest instruct at academies. I don't ask for like a salary. I want to see how my jiu-jitsu translates to people that maybe aren't from my academy. Is what I'm teaching like resonating with them? Does it click?
So it kind of seems like what you're saying is like they have to find their own niche, like based on their own experience.
Yeah.
Like what you're saying is you're not trying to be the top coach in the world. You're trying to be the guy that's there for the guys that are working all the time and still have a passion for competing in jiu-jitsu,
Yeah.
which was essentially you at some point, right? You said you were
Yeah.
working 40 hours a week and then still trying to
Every
find the time to
weekend.
train.
Yeah.
And so it seems like you're kind of becoming the person that you needed when you were doing that. So that makes a lot of sense. So for those athletes out there, they're trying to make revenue in jiu-jitsu. I mean, you nailed it on the head, where you need to have multiple income streams. You see so many gyms fail, and it's because they're relying on memberships. And it's like, dude, you can't be hounding your athletes for memberships. It's just not going to be, even if, all your guys are loyal and you had a whole bunch of people, it's still never going to be enough. You're going to have to find something to branch out, whether it's gear or content or, what you said, you created a promotion. So you got to have multiple streams. And then with the content thing, it's like how you're saying, you got to find that that niche or that market that you're going to be able to tap into that's real to you.
Yeah.
And so like for me, I do breakdowns, and the reason I got into that is because I just had my own mind about watching replays. I hate it when someone's showing a replay and they're like talking in the middle of it. And it's like, dude, just show me the move, man. You know, I don't mind listening to someone talk, but if they're like pausing and they're like, oh, underhook, and then what I really want to do, and they're just sitting there, and it's like, dude, I just want to see the thing over and over and over again.
So you can keep rewatching it.
Yeah. So that's kind of where I came up with the breakdowns. Is like, dude, I just want to play the match, and so if people don't want to hear me talk, they just mute my ass and then just watch the move. You know, so I really am connecting with what you're saying, dude. How can athletes reach out to you if they're interested in being on SOGI, or maybe they want a private lesson, or maybe they want to be on your Discord?
Yep.
Yeah.
So I'm Chris Shahgholi 10P on Instagram, and on SOGI, it's SOGI Tournament. You could DM either of those accounts. Chris Shahgholi 10th Planet on Patreon. So if you sign up for my Patreon, I'll add you to the Discord. So just like you were saying, right, like there's only so much we could take from the academy. I'm really trying to target people I don't know on Patreon. Like, I want to meet more people who are interested in furthering their jiu-jitsu. Guys, I'm always going to answer my DM, so if you hit me on Instagram, on my page or the SOGI page, and you're looking for a match, I'll get back to you and we'll get you on a card. It might not be the next card, but we'll get you on.
Oh, I remember what I was going to say. Yeah, so, and you have proof of concept. I mean, Pat Shahgholi's a freaking monster,
Yeah,
so
man.
You definitely know what you're doing.
I'm Dr. Frankenstein. I created the monster.
Dude, that's awesome, Dr. Frankenstein. Hell yeah. Well, Chris, I appreciate you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely.
Thank you.